The morning started like any other, except my heart felt a little fuller. It was our anniversary. 15 years, a lifetime in some ways. I woke up early to prepare something special. Candles, his favorite red wine, and framed photos from every chapter of our life. I even dug out the old playlist we danced to when we first moved in. I wanted it to feel intimate, honest, like we still had something real. I left work early, bouquet in hand, humming the tune of one of our songs. I remember thinking how lucky I was to still believe in us. That kind of love, it doesn't come around twice. But as I turned the corner by the cafe near the station, something stopped me. There he was, Victor, leaning in close to a woman I'd never seen before. And then he kissed her, slow, like he meant it, like I didn't exist. He never saw me. I just kept walking, steady, like my soul hadn't cracked open. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went home, washed my face, and finished setting the table. When he walked through the door, I smiled. We clinked glasses, and he gave me a silver bracelet. I gave him a kiss and whispered, "To us." He toasted to forever. I swallowed it like poison, and began my cure. The house smelled like rosemary and garlic, just the way Victor liked. I watched him take his first bite, savoring it like he had the best wife in the world. He complimented everything, the food, the setup, even my dress. I nodded, played along, asked about his day. He spun stories like he always did, hands gesturing, eyes sparkling, weaving his web of make-believe. And I clapped softly for the performance. Somewhere between the salad and the main course, I looked at him, really looked. The man across from me wasn't just a liar. He was a stranger in a well-pressed shirt, telling jokes with someone else's lips. I wondered how many other anniversaries he had celebrated without me. How many nights he said, "I'm working late," while running his hands through someone else's hair. The betrayal didn't scream. It whispered, quietly, but constantly. He reached for my hand at dessert. That same hand that hours ago caressed another woman's cheek. I smiled, warm and easy, and poured him another glass of wine. The irony wasn't lost on me. He had no idea he'd just kissed the fuse. I listened as he raised his glass, voice soft, saying, "Here's to forever." I lifted mine and met his eyes, and the lie tasted like ash on my tongue. After dinner, he suggested a walk, said the night air felt perfect. I agreed, arm in arm, like nothing had changed. We strolled through the neighborhood, past familiar homes and porch lights glowing like little secrets. He talked about plans for the year ahead, trips we should take, projects around the house. I listened, nodding, letting him paint the future on a canvas I had already set fire to. Back home, he slipped into the shower while I cleaned up the dishes. Each plate felt heavier than the last, not because of the food, but because I knew what I had to do. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from a marriage I had spent years maintaining. But my mind had already stepped into another life, one where I wasn't the fool in love, but the woman about to take back her power. When he emerged, towel slung low, smiling like a man who'd gotten away with something, I leaned in and kissed him goodnight. Soft, familiar, final. He whispered, "I love you." And for the first time, I didn't say it back. He didn't notice. He turned out the lights, and in the dark, while he drifted off next to me, I lay awake, wide-eyed, already planning. Because that night, he toasted to forever. I swallowed it like poison, and began my cure. The very next morning, I brewed coffee like always, 2 sugars for him, black for me. Nothing in my routine changed, but everything inside me had. I watched him scroll through his phone at the breakfast table, face lit by the same screen he used to cheat. I smiled and kissed his cheek before he left, then turned to my laptop and opened a blank document. Title: Insurance. A new kind: emotional, legal, financial. I started small. Notebooks hidden behind recipe books, passwords memorized. I began logging receipts he carelessly left out, capturing photos of credit card charges for dinners I hadn't attended and gifts I hadn't received. Hotel names popped up, ones I didn't recognize. I cross-checked every date with my calendar. Business trips, he said, deadlines, emergencies, lies. And I kept everyone, like seeds I'd soon grow into a forest of truth. Within days, I hired a private investigator. discreet, experienced, expensive, but worth every penny. He promised weekly updates, and I waited like a woman waiting on test results, knowing the diagnosis but needing the proof. Meanwhile, Victor kept coming home with wine and charm and lipstick I never wore smudged on his collar. He never questioned my calm. That was his mistake. He thought silence meant surrender. In public, I was still Laura, the supportive wife, the woman who laughed at his jokes and held his hand at dinner parties. I played my role so well that even I almost believed it sometimes. But behind closed doors, I was assembling a war chest. I scanned every document he left out, every email left open too long. That's when I found them. 2 email addresses I'd never seen, both registered under a fake name, both full of promises that were never meant for me. It felt like peeling back wallpaper in an old house and finding mold underneath. Hidden transactions for flowers I never received. Hotel bookings under aliases. A subscription to a dating app he once claimed to hate. I wasn't devastated anymore. I was determined. Every time he kissed me goodbye, I mentally filed another exhibit. Every "I love you" felt like a signature on his confession. I wasn't heartbroken. I was documenting the crime scene. And then, carefully, quietly, I opened a new bank account. One in my name only, linked to nothing he could trace. I began transferring small amounts from our joint savings, just enough to stay invisible, not enough to raise alarms. Every dollar moved felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about preparation. Because I knew a storm was coming, and when it hit, I wouldn't be the one left exposed. By the second week, the investigator sent me photos. Grainy, time-stamped, irrefutable. Victor holding hands with her outside that same cafe. The same stolen kisses. A second hotel I hadn't noticed before, not far from his office. There was even a receipt for a necklace he never gave me, but that she wore proudly in the photos. I studied every detail with clinical focus. I didn't cry. I categorized, labeled, prepared. At night, I still made dinner. I still asked how his day was. He told me lies, and I smiled like I believed them. That was the game now. I needed him to feel safe, uninhibited, predictable. The more he trusted my silence, the more careless he became, and the more careless he was, the stronger my case grew. I was no longer the woman trying to save a marriage. I was the woman preparing to end it, on my terms. There was something empowering about the secrecy, about knowing more than he thought I did. Every time he kissed my forehead, I pictured my growing file, the receipts, the photos, the financial statements, my proof, my protection, my power. He thought he was getting away with it, but every kiss, every "I love you," a signature on his own downfall. Victor was relaxed these days, almost smug. He started mentioning big changes, talking about downsizing the house, maybe selling the vacation home. "Let's simplify," he said one night over dinner, swirling his wine like he'd thought this through. I nodded sweetly, matching his tone. "Whatever you think is best," I told him gently. He smiled, thinking he had me wrapped in comfort and trust. But he had no idea I was speaking with lawyers in the afternoons. I met with a divorce attorney who specialized in high-asset separations. She was precise, direct, and absolutely ruthless. My kind of woman. We outlined everything, the prenup terms, the bank records, the timeline of his infidelity. Everything had a place. Everything had weight. I left her office with a folder in my bag and fire in my chest. He thought he was planning a clean slate. I was preparing a demolition. Over the next week, I played the part with more enthusiasm than ever. I let him think I was on board with everything, the new beginnings, the fresh start. He kissed me after meetings with realtors and lawyers he didn't know were mine. I smiled in return, not because I was happy, but because I was almost done. Almost ready. And when I was, I sent out 2 dinner invitations, one to Victor and one to his mistress. Same date, same time, same cafe. Choosing the cafe wasn't a coincidence. It was the exact place where I first saw them together. The kiss, the laughter, the betrayal. I reserved the same table, asked for the same time of day. Symbolic, poetic, and strategic. The staff didn't question the double booking. I made sure to arrive last. It had to be perfectly timed, like a scene unfolding on stage. And I wasn't just the director. I was the storm rolling in under clear skies. In the days leading up to it, Victor kept talking about our new life. He even joked about taking a trip, just the two of us. I laughed softly, promised we'd look into it soon. Behind my smile, I was finalizing documentation with my attorney. The photos, the receipts, the transfer records. I even had the prenup highlighted, clause by clause, showing how he'd forfeited everything the moment he chose dishonesty. The legal trap was locked. All that was left was the curtain call. On the morning of the dinner, I treated myself to something I hadn't done in years, a quiet moment alone. I sat in a park with a coffee, watching people walk their dogs, listening to the breeze move through the trees. There was peace in knowing, power in patience. I wasn't nervous, not anymore. I was ready, calm, certain. And as the sun dipped low, I dressed for dinner with the kind of smile a woman wears when she already knows how the night will end. Victor arrived first, as I knew he would. Punctual, as always. He wore the navy blazer I'd bought him years ago, the one he wore on our anniversary. Fitting, I thought. He ordered a drink and checked his watch, unaware he was waiting for more than one woman tonight. Then came her entrance. Sleek hair, red lipstick, a nervous glance around the room. When she spotted him, her whole face lit up. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. They were mid-conversation when I stepped inside. I didn't rush. I didn't make a scene. I simply walked to the table, heels clicking like punctuation, and greeted them both with a smile warm enough to unsettle. Victor's face drained in stages, confusion, shock, panic. Hers twisted with recognition. I sat down and placed a single manila folder on the table. Thick, labeled, deliberate. Neither of them touched it. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence work. And then, softly, I broke it. Don't worry. I brought enough truth for everyone. Victor tried to laugh, a weak, broken sound. I kept my gaze steady, letting the weight of what was coming settle over the table like fog. This wasn't about drama. This was about closure, about control. She wasn't just exposing him. She was staging his collapse, and they hadn't even opened the folder yet. Victor reached for the folder like it might bite him. His fingers hovered for a moment, trembling slightly, before he finally pulled it closer. He opened it slowly, page by page. Financial statements, time-stamped photos, hotel invoices, emails from both addresses. His eyes scanned faster, his breath caught. The color drained from his face. The woman beside him leaned in, curiosity turning to horror as she realized exactly what she was looking at. Their affair, laid bare. Their recklessness, documented. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just watched. Every flip of a page was another nail in the coffin of our marriage, and his illusions. He started to stammer, trying to explain something, anything, but I held up a hand. I told him there was nothing he could say that could change what was already done. I had the evidence, I had the timeline, and most importantly, I had the prenup, violated, invalidated, weaponized in my favor. He turned to the mistress, maybe hoping for a sliver of sympathy, but her expression had gone cold. She stood up without a word, grabbing her purse like she couldn't get away fast enough. I stood too, calm and composed, looking directly at her. "You can have what's left of him," I said, voice quiet but sharp. "Legally, that's very little." I gave Victor one final look, not of anger, but of clarity. Then I turned and walked away. I walked out of that cafe into the night like a woman reborn. The air felt cleaner somehow, lighter. I didn't look back, not once. Behind me sat a man unraveling, cornered not by rage but by facts, by signatures and timelines and truths he never thought I'd uncover. There's a certain satisfaction in silence, in letting the evidence speak louder than any accusation ever could. He played games, I played chess, and the final move was checkmate. The legal wheels turned quickly after that. The divorce petition was already filed and waiting. My attorney made sure the process was airtight. The infidelity clause in our prenup gave me leverage on every front. His assets, his investments, even the vacation home he once called our escape, all open for reallocation. I wasn't out for blood. I was out for justice. And justice doesn't scream. It signs documents with calm hands and a clear mind. Victor tried to contact me a few times, text messages at first, then emails, all full of apologies, of questions, of desperate attempts to explain. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. He wasn't mourning our marriage. He was mourning the control he thought he had. What he didn't realize was that while he was planning a life without me, I was preparing a future without him. And it looked nothing like what he expected. The day we signed the final papers, he showed up in a wrinkled suit and tired eyes. No blazer, no smile, just a man stripped bare of his stories. He looked at me like he wanted to ask something, maybe why I hadn't fought or cried or begged, but I didn't give him that satisfaction. I had already done my grieving, silently, efficiently, between lawyer visits and transfer confirmations. What he mistook for coldness was simply closure. He lost more than money that day. He lost the illusion of control, the comfort of deception. I walked away with what I was owed, the house, the majority of our investments, and every ounce of dignity he tried to erode. But more than that, I left with peace. Real, earned peace. No secrets, no second-guessing, just space, wide and open, to begin again without carrying the weight of someone else's lies on my back. Outside the courthouse, I paused for a moment, watching him disappear down the steps without a glance behind him. And for the first time in months, I felt something unfamiliar. Lightness. Not joy, not revenge, just clarity. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was simply free. And somewhere deep inside, I knew. This wasn't the end. It was just the end of his part in my story. Victor didn't go down quietly. He tried to call, tried to meet, tried to appeal, not in court, but in sentiment. He said he missed me, that he made a mistake, that maybe we could fix things, start over. I let his messages pile up like dust on a windowsill, visible, ignored, irrelevant. What he really missed was the safety I provided, the cover, the status, but that version of me, the quiet, forgiving wife, no longer existed. Soon, reality caught up to him. His accounts were frozen mid-transfer. His firm found out about the investigation tied to his name. His mistress? Gone. She vanished the moment the money did, leaving behind nothing but a cold goodbye and a few unpaid hotel tabs. His friends stopped calling. His inbox turned quiet. And suddenly, the man who once had everything was left with exactly what he deserved. A mirror and a mess he created all on his own. Meanwhile, I wasn't hiding. I was thriving. With the settlement finalized, I took a long breath and started writing. Not a journal, not a letter, a book. Page after page, I poured every lesson, every strategy, every ounce of calm destruction into words. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. The title said it all: How to Burn a Cheater Without Saying a Word. And when it hit the shelves, it did more than sell. It echoed. The book spread fast, first among close circles, then across states. Women wrote to me, strangers, survivors. Some whispered thanks in emails. Others shouted it in book clubs and social media posts. They didn't just see themselves in my story. They felt seen, heard, validated. It wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about reclaiming silence and rewriting what it meant to walk away with power, not pieces. Victor, of course, saw it too. Someone always makes sure they do. I didn't need to hear his reaction. I imagined it, the sting of recognition, the shame, the disbelief that I had turned our downfall into a bestseller. He played the role of victim for a while. Told mutual friends I was cold, heartless, but no one was buying it. He forgot people watch how you treat someone when no one's looking. And now, everyone was looking. And me? I did interviews, sat on podcasts, got invited to panels about empowerment, quiet revenge, resilience. I wore the bracelet he gave me that last anniversary to every one of them, not as a symbol of love, but as a reminder. Of what I survived, of what I built, of how sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's published. The royalties rolled in faster than I expected. I used some of it to renovate the house, not to erase memories, but to reclaim space. New paint, new floors, new energy. I planted roses in the backyard, the kind I used to love but he never let me keep. Every bloom felt like a quiet triumph. I wasn't just moving on. I was moving up, brick by brick, on ground I had cleared myself. One day, I walked past the cafe, the same one where everything began to unravel. This time, I didn't feel the weight in my chest. No sting, no ghosts, just sunlight, the smell of coffee, and the sound of life continuing. A few people recognized me. One woman stopped and whispered, "You gave me courage." I smiled, genuinely, and replied, "No, you already had it." That moment, more satisfying than any confrontation ever could have been. Victor thought he played me. He thought he won. But in the end, I wrote the story. I chose the tone, the timing, the twist, and I sold it. His betrayal became my beginning. His silence, my statement. He wanted to leave a mark, and he did. Just not the one he imagined. Because while he was busy cheating, I was building. And when it was time, I didn't burn it all down. I lit a spotlight and stood in it.